everyone. Welcome back to my channel, Yoga Precision. I am Jo Luzzi, and I welcome you to today's practice. So I'm excited for this one because we're going to be looking at the core and the pelvis position when we practice. Now, this is a really key part of the body, so it's very important that you are able to feel and distinguish when the pelvis is in a good alignment versus when it's not, okay? So the way we're going to focus on it is what we call neutral pelvis. Now, that means that the pelvis is not tipped too far forward, but it's also not tipped too far back. So as we practice today, I want you to start to feel when your pelvis is in the right position. So you feel empowered to know, right? You're not just waiting for somebody else to tell you, you can feel it yourself. So I'm going to have us start sitting on a block. Now, if you don't have a block, it's fine. You can just sit on a folded blanket, but we're going to try to sit in a kneeling position because I find that this way is actually one of the best ways to sit in a more stable position. But it also could be sitting on a chair, okay? It's the same position of the pelvis. It doesn't truly matter that much about your leg position, okay? So if you're okay to sit on a block, you're going to do that. Otherwise, find an alternative and you're going to sit in a kneeling position like this. Now, in the last couple of practices, we have been working on the feet and the legs. So always make sure you go back through those, because the way I teach it takes you from one thing to the next gradually. So if you've worked on your feet, you've worked on your legs, then it's going to make even more sense now why we're working on the pelvis. Okay. So as you come into this kneeling position, you're going to take both of your hands to the top of one thigh and roll the thighs inwardly. Now, what that does is it grounds the thighs down onto whatever you're sitting on. And then in turn, that then takes the pelvis and has it tilting more forward, right? So you understand what I'm saying here. This is tilting the pelvis forward, and this is tilting the pelvis back. Okay, so we're going to find, as I said, that neutral position between these two. Now, what's really important to know is that we always tilt the pelvis forward first to find the position, not the other way around. So by inwardly rotating the thighs, that's what happens, right? The pelvis naturally starts to tilt forward. So see if you can feel that for a moment. Maybe you close your eyes and you just feel with the rolling inwardly of the thighs, how the pelvis starts to respond to that. Now, once you feel your pelvis is tilting forward slightly, what I want you to feel for when you're sitting is that you're sitting slightly more in front of the sit bones rather than on them directly or even behind them, which is what we definitely don't want to do, okay? So slightly forward of your sitting bones. Now, to bring the pelvis into neutral, we're going to create just a slight lengthening of the tailbone. Okay, I'm not saying tuck your tailbone here. I'm saying just, can you lengthen it a little bit? So now close your eyes again and feel for that neutral position. So you're not too far forward, you're not too far back, you're right in the middle. Now, the other marker that tells us whether we're in the right position is the position of our lower back, the lower part of the spine. Now, this is called the lumbar curve. So if you place one of your hands there, what you should feel is the top of the sacrum and then the lower vertebrae going in slightly. There's a slight concave position there. That's the natural lumbar curve. Okay, we don't want it to be flat there. We want it to be slightly concave, but we also don't want it to be too arched because then we're not properly engaging our core. Okay, so close your eyes again. Feel first the thighs rolling in, engage your feet, engage your legs, and feel the pelvis tilting forward until your weight is slightly forward of the sit bones. Then in the back, ever so slightly tuck the tail, lengthen the tailbone, but don't go too much because we don't want a flattened lower back. Now, trust what you're feeling and just feel where neutral is. When we're in neutral, all the core muscles begin to engage almost spontaneously in a way. So you may even feel some of that now. Just take a couple of breaths here and just let your body get used to what we call neutral pelvis. Feel how your spine is supported and upright. Your shoulders are more naturally moving back. You don't have to force that, right? All of this comes when we have a well-aligned foundation. All right, so let's come to the hands and knees, okay? And let's feel it here. So you can just put your block aside for now. And sometimes in class, the class will often begin with this cat-cow movement. So let's do that today. Keeping your shoulders over your wrists, you're going to just inhale and arch your back. Keep your legs firm. And then exhale, round your back. Just go slowly and feel the pelvis moving as you do this. Feel it tilting all the way forward. And then feel it tilting all the way back. Now, of course, this is great for the spine, so you're getting that bonus here as well. But for today, I really want you to notice what your pelvis is doing. Let's just do 2 or 3 more rounds, nice and slowly. Relaxing the breath. Just gently moving your spine. Okay, so let's come back to a neutral spine and of course also a neutral pelvis. So shoulders again over the wrists. Now this time I want you to take your block and put it between your thighs so that you have something to squeeze against. So you're hugging that block, firming the muscles in your legs, right? So all of that ties into core work, as well as, using the legs to really connect to the core fully. So we squeeze the block, we push the block back. Now, when we push the block back, what happens to the pelvis? It starts to tilt forward, okay? So we're not arching the back here. I just want you to keep neutral spine and push the block back until the pelvis tilts forward. Now, tuck your tail slightly and wait until you can feel a neutral pelvis in this position now. Just like we did sitting. It's not tipping too far forward. It's not tipping too far back. You have a little curve, lumbar curve in your lower spine. And you're just trusting what you're feeling right now, trusting what your body is showing you based on now your knowledge of neutral pelvis. Notice what happens. Keep squeezing the block. Notice what happens in your core. Again, just keep the pelvis neutral, keep the spine neutral. Couple more breaths like this. So hugging the block keeps the leg muscles firm and engaged, and is the first part of how we engage our deeper core muscles. So now let's take the block away and bring the knees all the way together. Now find neutral pelvis again. So squeeze your legs in toward each other this time. Let the pelvis arch just a little bit. And then lengthen the tailbone and find neutral. Lift up the belly. Now maintain a neutral position in your pelvis, and this time lift your right leg up off the ground, hovering it so it's parallel to your mat. Wrap the right hip down, point the right toes down towards the floor, and keep checking, is your pelvis still neutral? Now, you can keep this as just the leg lifted, if it's enough already, or add in lifting the arm as well. Again, your focus today is on making sure that the pelvis stays in its good alignment the whole time. Imagine you're squeezing your block between your inner thighs. You're lifting your belly gently. Now bring the knee down, bring the hand down, and switch sides. So knees together, neutral pelvis. Lift your left leg behind you. Hold just the leg, squaring the hips, hugging in like you're still squeezing that block, or take the arm out as well for a little bit more challenge. So you're balancing, right? So balance, all of that stuff comes when we start to find good alignment. It just is a natural effect of alignment, right? The balance just shows up. We're not struggling for it. Good. Come on down with your knee and your hand, and then open your knees. Take a little child's pose. Just rest your arms for a moment here and breathe. And now let's slowly come up and lay onto the back now. So you will still need your block. And so keep it close by. And we won't use it right away. We'll use it in a moment. So you're going to bend your knees and have your feet flat on the floor here. Okay, so another perfect position to explore neutral pelvis. So engage your legs first and your feet. Spread your toes. Press down through the four corners of the feet. And then hug in as if you're holding that block still between your thighs. And then tilt the pelvis forward, rolling the top of your thighs in. Now lengthen your tailbone in the back and wait. You can close your eyes. I definitely recommend that here. Wait until you feel that your pelvis is in neutral. So you can feel, of course, because the floor is underneath you, that you have still a little bit of a curve there. It's not a huge one, but it's there. You're not tilting too far forward or too far back. Now, keeping this neutral pelvis, bring the fingertips just onto the hip points, those bony parts at the front of the pelvis. And I want you to start lifting up one leg at a time. Just gently lift the foot, put it back down, and then lift the other foot. And all the while you're doing this, your goal is to keep that pelvis very still and stable in its neutral position. Don't let it tilt too far forward or back or sideways if you can help it. Go really slow so that you can feel not just when the leg is lifted, but in the transition between putting one leg down and lifting the other one up. Now, you can keep doing this, or you can do both legs at the same time, which is a little bit more challenging. So again, once you've got your neutral pelvis, this time you can bring your hands down onto the floor, palms facing down, and then try to float both feet off the floor at the same time and bring them back down at the same time without moving your pelvis. So it's locked in position now. All right, once we find it, we want to keep it. So that tiny little curve under the lower back should still be there. Whether you're lifting your legs or lowering them, that should not change. Now, that's where it gets a little tricky, because when it gets more difficult, that's what happens. The back overarches, and now instead of using our core, we're actually using our back to do it, and that's not good. We don't want to do that. So if that's the case, just go back to one leg at a time until you feel a little bit stronger with it. Now, there's one more option, is to use the block here underneath the sacrum. So these are all options for you to try. And remember, you can stop the video and just do a couple of minutes of this at your own pace, okay? So this is the third option, is to put the block there, which makes it a little bit more challenging. Now you can roll your thighs in again and let the pelvis tilt forward first. Then tuck the tailbone slightly. Remember, neutral. We're not over tucking. We're just finding that neutral position. And then one leg at a time or both legs. Just remember though, if you do both legs, you've got to lift them at exactly the same time without the pelvis moving at all. Has to stay locked in position, and you're going to start to feel those lower abdominal muscles firing up, those transverse abdominals just above the pubic bone. So we'll just do a few more of these and then you can choose which one works better for you. And as you get stronger, this will get easier, right? We want to start to wake up those deep core muscles, pelvic floor, low abdominals. It's not so much about the surface ones in the front. Okay, so now we're going to come off the block if you're using it. And we're going to roll off to the side. And we're going to go over to the wall for a downward dog. So last class we did this, I think. Yeah, it was the last one. And this is a really great way, again, to feel pelvis in neutral before we come to the full downward dog, okay? So you'll just slide your mat to the wall, and then you'll stand facing the wall with your hands about shoulder height. Turn them out a little bit so the index fingers point up. That's another lesson for another day. Shrug your shoulders, plug them in, and then start walking backwards. Now, as you walk back, you're going to bend your knees and walk your hands down so that the hands are at hip level, hip height. We don't want them too low or too high, right? So try to line them up with your hips. Now bend your knees. Pretend you're squeezing a block between your thighs and press it back. So you're rolling your thighs in until you feel your pelvis tilting forward. That's that key action that always comes first. So if you put one of your hands on your lower back right now, you should feel concave curve. It's going in. Now, keep this and then just slightly lengthen the tailbone, but not so much that you're flattening your back again. So for a lot of people, that's a kind of a secondary thing. First, we have to learn how to tilt the pelvis forward in this position because we've got tightness in the hips, tightness in the legs. So bending the knees makes it accessible for everybody, okay? Because we're cutting out the tightness in the legs by bending the knees. Now, for those who feel like you can keep this neutral pelvis, then you can push the top of the thighs back and begin to work towards straighter legs as long as the pelvis stays in neutral. So now you get to decide, you get to feel it. Where is my body at? Do I keep the knees bent, or am I able to push the thighs back a little bit more and still maintain neutral pelvis? So the second you can't do that, you've gone too far. You just back off, bend your knees again. And then slowly come on up. Now, maybe you're asking why? Why do I need to keep my pelvis in neutral? Okay, so in a pose like that, if you straighten your legs and your pelvis is not in neutral anymore, the big tendency is that the back is rounding. The pelvis is tilting back way too much. And when that's happening, we're just getting tighter. Nothing good is happening from that. We're literally tightening our hip flexor muscle, shortening the hamstrings and the backs of the legs. So nothing's going to change in the long run, other than maybe you might get even tighter from doing that. You might as well not do it at all, right? That's why it's so important to maintain that neutral pelvis so we can start to lengthen the hamstrings, lengthen the back of the legs, and keep the hip flexor muscles from tightening and gripping. Okay, so let's do downward dog on the mat now, the regular position. which of course is more challenging, right? Because it's a not so much a 90-degree angle like the one at the wall. So if this is too much, you just repeat at the wall again, okay? So same thing to prepare. Shrug the shoulders up toward the ears and plug them in, and then lift your knees and come up into downward dog with the knees bent. Now, again, you're going to hug your thighs in like you're squeezing a block there and push it back. As you push the inner thighs back, again, the pelvis tilts forward. So notice how it's the same action every time. Now, you might just stay here and work on tilting the pelvis forward and continuing to release the tension that has built up here. Or you can work on the same thing, pushing the thighs back little bit at a time and making sure that you don't lose that neutral position in your pelvis. Now that's going to get more challenging. Lifting the sit bones high in the sky, keep tilting the pelvis forward as you press the thighs back. Take 3 breaths here, feeling this. Lift your armpits away from the mat. Press down through your fingertips and press your heels back and the top of your thighs back. And then slowly come on down. Well done, guys. This is good, right? Because you can apply this to all the things you're doing, whether you're practicing with me or in any other class. Now, we've got one more thing, and we're going to use a strap for it. So we've got our strap, and what we're going to do is lay down on the back and take 2 positions with the legs. In Sanskrit, this is called Supta Padangustasana, and what it actually means is hand to foot pose. So lay on your back. Loop your strap around the arch of your right foot, stretching that right leg up and then extending the left leg down. Now stay here and start with your feet, engaging your feet, spreading your toes, and then engaging the muscles in the legs. So we call that muscular energy. We're hugging the muscles to the bones. Now, when you get to the very top of your thighs here, roll the thighs inwardly, just like we've been doing, and then feel how that starts to tilt the pelvis more forward. And now it's not going to be a huge movement with the pelvis, of course, because we're tight here, right? This is why we need this, because we're tight in the groin, we're tight in the hamstrings, we're tight in the hips. So by inwardly rotating the thighs and tipping the pelvis forward, we're starting to address that tightness. But if we let the back flatten and just yank the leg in toward the chest, we would actually be avoiding that tightness. So just take a few more breaths, and this is all I want you to focus on today, is just rolling the top of the thighs in and tilting the pelvis forward, bringing it to neutral. Now bring both sides of the strap or the scarf, whatever you're using, or the belt, into your right hand. Put your left hand on the left side of the pelvis so it stays down, and start now to open the right leg out to the side. Now, as the leg opens, your job is not to let that pelvis move from its neutral position. So do your very best to keep that going here. Lengthening through both legs firmly. Spreading the toes, lifting up from the belly, pelvis neutral, lift the leg back up. Good. So now you've got your strap on your left foot. Press up into the strap with the foot or the scarf, whatever you're using. Push out through that right foot as well. And begin to extend the legs fully. And engage the muscles in the legs. So hug them, pull them up. You might imagine that you're pulling up a pair of tight jeans, and those muscles are pulling from your feet all the way up into your pelvis. So we're actually focusing here more on strength and alignment than we are on flexibility. Flexibility is a natural byproduct of what we're doing here, okay? It's not the goal. So now at the top of the thighs, roll your thighs in and start to feel, even if it's the tiniest little bit, the pelvis beginning to tilt more forward versus tilting back. And that's when you're going to feel the tightness. And so you just breathe into it. Keeping a little bit of an arch, a little bit of space underneath the lower back. And then we're going to open the leg to the side. Now bring both ends of the strap into the left hand. Put the right hand on the right side of the pelvis and open the leg very slowly. Now you're only going to open that leg as much as you can keep the right side of your pelvis down. If you let the whole pelvis tilt over, then you've lost your support. You've lost your stability and your core strength. So use that right hand to push the right side of the pelvis down as you open the leg. Make both legs very long. Take a breath. And then lift the leg back up. Take your strap off your foot. Put your strap to the side. And lay flat on your back here. Just spread out. And as you rest, just let your attention rest on the pelvis and the position of it as you lay down. Is it in neutral naturally here, or is it tilting back a little bit or forward? Just notice. So you're using what we've done today and everything we do in the practice to get to know your body a bit more. The language of the body is sensation. So we let the sensations guide us. We gain the knowledge and then we feel into the body and we let the body tell us. So feel free to continue relaxing here for as long as you have time for. Thank you so much for practicing with me. I'll see you next class, and you can like and subscribe to my channel so that you can stay in touch and follow me on a weekly basis. Namaste.